Well, I know you didn't just make a natural change from being a secular, non-faith person to coming to faith. You had some experiences that brought you to faith. I know.
Well, I started in a 12-step program. My life imploded through alcohol and drugs, and I walked into a 12-step meeting, and they said, pray. And that really, my answer was to what? Well,
Right.
whatever, your higher power. And I always was intrigued by that. In the 12-step program, I think it's the third step that you come to believe that a power greater than yourself,
Yeah.
can restore you to sanity. And that was the sticking point for me, because I never really, again, if you're making up a deity, that kind of makes you delusional. So I
Yeah.
understood. But the question was always, okay, does God exist? I saw it. I heard people use the language,
Right.
God, and I saw the changes in their lives, and I wanted it, but I just couldn't make something up.
Yeah.
So I started reading, and I never read a book in my entire life prior to getting sober. And somebody put a therapist put Road Less Traveled into my hands. And I was so blown away by that book that I
really?
just started reading self-help. I mean,
Yeah.
John Bradshaw had a trilogy of books on family dynamics. And one of the things that each book gave me something. And one of the things John Bradshaw talked about was in a dysfunctional home, the baby of the family, which I was, is usually the comedian, the good-natured one.
Yeah.
So you read that on print, you go, wow, that's my life. I was,
Right.
and that's how. And it was funny because I heard a speaker say one day that comedians in a dysfunctional home usually got the worst beatings until they got their timing down. You come walking into the storm, and
Yeah.
you go, "Hey, I got one." Bam!
Yeah,
you
that's right.
So okay, maybe next week.
Yeah.
So but anyway, that resonated, and then the codependency was around. It probably still is. I don't know, but I got into Melody Beatty stuff, and
Yeah.
so I read everything but the Bible. It was like it was a non-issue. I wasn't, occasionally I'd pick it up in a hotel room, but it was almost as if God said, "I need you to exhaust everything man
Yeah.
has printed."
Right.
Because now you can walk into. My attitude is this: you can walk into any Barnes and Nobles in the country and look at hundreds of shelves of books of man's attempt to find meaning
Yeah.
apart from God.
That's for sure.
And then the Bible, which hasn't changed in thousands of years, just
Yeah.
sits there begging people to pick it up.
Right.
Because God will speak to you through those words.
Yeah.
And eventually I met a guy that put the Bible in my hands in my home and prayed for my marriage.
Yeah.
And I couldn't deny it. I really couldn't. When I started listening to tapes that were sermons that were on the Bible, and the first one was Ecclesiastes, which summed up what I couldn't put words to it, but it summed up my 8-year search. Life
Yeah.
without God will have no meaning.
So that was an 8-year period from the time you
It
started
was.
searching.
It was. And I always say this: if God had sat me down and said, "Look, I'm going to put you and your wife through this for the next 8 years, but listen to me. At the end of those 8 years, I'm going to introduce you to my son Jesus, and you're
Yeah.
going to know a peace and that you never knew could exist."
Yeah.
I would never have signed on.
Yeah.
Because it
You
was
wouldn't have
just
been ready.
but it was a process that I had to go through. Some people have those road to Damascus moments
Yeah.
where they get struck. As I've talked to people like that.
Right. Yeah.
No, man, somebody shared the gospel with me and bam,
Yeah.
I got it. Well,
Right.
I had the gospel shared to me and I didn't get it. But again, I had to exhaust
Yep.
all these things. I'm a skeptic by nature.
Yeah.
So, I had to exhaust it, I guess.